Right now, there's a snake somewhere in your yard, and the plants you chose are the reason it's there. Not one of these snakes is in your yard by accident. 16 of the most common American garden plants are the ones doing the inviting. Most homeowners have no idea that the plants they pay good money for at the garden center are practically holding the door open. Snakes don't care about the plant itself. They care about what the plant gives them: shelter, shade, moisture, and a steady food supply. Some of these plants build all 4 conditions at once. By the end of this, you'll know exactly which ones are doing it, why each one works the way it does, and what to swap them for without tearing your whole landscape apart. The one at number 11 is the one most beginners plant first, and it's the worst offender on the entire list. This is Family Yard Kitchen, where we figure out backyard food the honest way, science instead of folklore. And stick with me to the end. I'll show you the 3 plants that do the opposite of this list, the ones that quietly push snakes the other direction. I've never put that together in one place before. Let's start with the one that probably grows somewhere along your back fence already. English ivy, Hedera helix, is the single most snake-friendly ground cover sold in America. Its dense, ground-hugging vines build a thick, dark layer of permanent cover, and the moist, cool soil underneath it stays that way through the entire summer. That microclimate pulls in earthworms, slugs, and small rodents, and snakes follow exactly where the prey goes. A garter snake can travel from one end of an ivy patch to the other in broad daylight without ever being seen from above. That's not a maybe. That's how it's built. Liriope muscari, also called monkey grass or lily turf, is the border plant nearly every American lawn has somewhere along the driveway or the foundation. The clumping growth stays low and creates a thick tangle of leaves that a snake disappears into in about 2 seconds. It holds soil moisture through dry weeks, which keeps the temperature underneath stable, exactly what snakes look for when they need to regulate their body heat without exposing themselves. Tall plants worry homeowners. Low plants don't. That's backwards. Low-growing junipers, the Juniperus horizontalis types, spread wide with branches that touch the ground. And they build a dark canopy of cover that larger snake species, including some venomous ones in the southern states, prefer for coiling up during the heat of the day. The layer of dead needles underneath stays dry and insulating year-round, which makes a juniper bed a near-perfect denning spot. Tall ornamental grasses, pampas grass, Cordaderia celoana, along with miscanthus and feather reed grass, are beautiful in a landscape, and they're essentially purpose-built snake real estate. The thick base of pampas grass creates a hollow, sheltered space at the very center that a snake can enter and exit without ever being visible from outside. Add to that, the height of the plant gives them cover from hawks and owls, and what you've got is a 5-star retreat with 2 exits. Hostas, that's the whole hosta family, are shade-loving perennials with wide, overlapping leaves that build a cool, dark microclimate underneath. Snakes use a hosta bed the same way they'd use a rock crevice. They also pull in slugs and small frogs, which are 2 of the most common prey items for the smaller snake species: the garter, the ringneck, the brown snake. A row of hostas along your foundation is functionally a buffet with a roof. Stop me if any of these are growing within 20 feet of where your kids or your dogs walk every day. Because we've covered 5 so far, and there are 11 more. And the next one is the one that's hardest to see through once it spreads. That same plant is also why most homeowners never spot the snake until they're standing right on top of it. Creeping phlox, Phlox subulata, hugs the ground tightly and spreads in a dense mat that's nearly impossible to see through. That mat traps moisture against the soil and creates a hidden corridor of activity underneath: insects, earthworms, voles, and voles are the part most people miss. Voles eat phlox roots, and where voles set up, snakes follow within a season. Because the plant sits flat against the ground, the snake isn't visible until you're already on top of it. Pachycandra terminalis, is one of the most widely planted ground covers in American gardens and one of the most snake-friendly. It grows in thick, uniform mats that block sunlight from reaching the soil entirely. That keeps the ground permanently cool and moist, which is a magnet for earthworms, pillbugs, and small amphibians. All of those bring snakes into close range of your walking paths, your flower beds, and the corners of your foundation. Azaleas, the rhododendron family, grow with a dense, low-branching structure that creates a sheltered space right at ground level. Snakes use the area beneath azalea bushes as daytime resting cover, especially through the warm months. The leaf litter that builds up at the base also harbors insects and prey, turning the bottom of your azaleas into both a shelter and a feeding zone in the same square foot. Quick, like if you're still with me, there are 8 more on this list, and it genuinely helps the algorithm get this in front of the families who actually need it. Holly bushes, the ilex family, are thick, full, and thorny, which means predators stay away. That's exactly why snakes look for them. The dense interior of a holly bush is hard to see into, easy to remain undetected in, and the berries pull in birds and small mammals. Where the small mammals settle, the snakes follow. A mature row of hollies along a property line is genuinely one of the strongest snake corridors a homeowner can build without knowing it. Quick mention. Chapter 8 of Veggie Matchmakers covers the companion planting science behind a yard that pushes pests and snakes out instead of pulling them in. If that's the direction you want your beds going, the link's in the description. Vinca, also called periwinkle, Vinca minor, and Vinca major, is the fast-spreading ground cover that turns into a solid, unbroken layer in about 2 seasons. Because it spreads so aggressively, it creates large, continuous stretches of cover where a snake can travel freely without exposure. The moist, shaded conditions underneath Vinca are ideal for tree frogs, and wherever tree frogs settle, snake activity increases measurably within the same year. Here's the worst offender on the entire list, and the one most beginners plant first because the privacy is fast. There's a snake species in Asia called the bamboo rat snake. The name isn't a coincidence. Bamboo grows in dense clumps so tight a snake can travel underneath an entire grove without ever surfacing. The dropped leaf litter at the base feeds mice and voles, and mature stands stay cool and shaded through the hottest weeks of the year. A bamboo clump in an American backyard is the closest thing you can plant to a permanent snake den. If there's one on this list to think twice about, this is it. Wisteria. Wisteria sinensis and the native Wisteria frutescens is what people plant when they want a regal climbing flower along a fence or a pergola. The vines are thick, woody, and tangled, and they pull birds and small rodents in by the dozens, both feeding directly into snake territory. Tree snakes in particular use mature wisteria almost like a highway, traveling through it from ground level up into adjacent shrubs and trees without ever crossing open ground. Wild and cultivated brambles, blackberry, Rubus fruticosus, and raspberry, Rubus idaeus, build incredibly dense, thorny thickets that humans can barely push through. That physical protection is exactly the appeal. The fruit pulls in birds and rodents, which pulls in snakes as predators, and the tangled canes give them everything they need to stay long-term. The mistake most homeowners make is letting a bramble patch creep past the size they can prune from outside. Daylilies, the Hemerocallis family, are everywhere in American gardens, usually planted in large, dense clusters. As the foliage dies back and regrows season after season, it builds a layer of dead plant material at the base that holds moisture and gives snakes a perfect place to hide at ground level. Daylily beds are especially active in spring when snakes are emerging from dormancy and looking for warm, sheltered spots near the soil surface. This one's a recent problem. As more homeowners replace turf grass with clover lawns, that's white clover, Trifolium repens, the snake habitat that replaces it is significantly worse than the lawn it replaced. Clover forms dense, low mats that hold moisture and pull in insects, frogs, and small invertebrates. And the cover is just thick enough that a snake can travel across an entire clover lawn without ever being visible. If you've swapped your lawn for clover, the trade-off is real. Garden ferns, especially the large spreading kinds like ostrich fern and autumn fern, build a lush, dense canopy close to the ground in shaded areas. The combination of dense fronds, consistent soil moisture, and heavy shade creates a cool, humid microclimate that pulls in salamanders, tree frogs, and earthworms. All of those are primary prey for the most common American garden snakes. A mature fern bed in a shaded corner can be one of the most active snake zones in the whole landscape. Now, I promised the 3 plants that do the opposite of this list. Here they are: lavender, marigold, and lemongrass, planted together. That's the trio. The reason it works isn't a magic snake repellent chemical. That's folklore. The real reason is twofold. First, all 3 plants stay tight at the base with no dense ground-level cover for a snake to hide under. Second, and this is the part nobody explains, none of the 3 attracts the prey species that bring snakes in. Lavender doesn't pull in voles. Marigold actively repels several rodent species that snakes hunt. Lemongrass stays clean at the base and doesn't hold the moisture that draws in frogs and slugs. Plant the 3 of them together in a border along the edges of your high traffic zones, the back door, the kids' play area, the chicken coop run if you've got one. You're not building a snake repellent, you're building a zone where the conditions snakes need don't exist. That's how this actually works. Habitat management, not magic. The mistake most people make with this trio is planting them too sparsely. Pack them tight. A 2-foot continuous border is worth more than scattered single plants. So the real question was never which snakes in your yard. It was always whether the conditions in your yard were inviting one in the first place. Now you know exactly which 16 plants are doing the inviting, and you know the 3 that quietly do the opposite. Out of the 16 we just walked through, drop the number of the one that's already growing in your yard. I want to see how many people have number 11. That's the one I get the most questions about. Now, you know which plants are turning your yard into snake habitat, but the families I hear from most aren't worried about themselves. They're worried about the flock. A snake that gets into a chicken run is a different kind of problem, and it sits inside a longer list of silent killers most beginners don't see coming until year 2. I made the full breakdown, 12 specific ways backyard hens die in their first year, and how to stop each one. That's the one to watch next. Links on screen. Family yard kitchen. A yard the snakes pass through instead of settling in. That's the goal.